Those who refuse the gift of eternal life are condemned to wander in the darkness of eternal night. Coming this fall from SJS Direct. After 18 years, the NYPD has finally arrested the alleged murderers of Run DMC member Jam Master Jay. Now, Run DMC was a rap group I grew up with in the 1980s during what many people call the golden age of hip-hop. And during that time, Run DMC presented itself with a very squeaky clean and extremely positive image, and I believe they oftentimes told people not to go out here and do drugs during the 1980s. And when I heard about the motive for the murder of Jam Master Jay, I found it to be quite troubling because, again, I remember the Jam Master Jay of the 1980s, DMC and DJ Run, and again, their extremely squeaky clean positive image and how they would oftentimes represent rap in the most positive ways. And when I heard about the way that Jam Master Jay was, again, allegedly murdered and the motive for that murder, it just really, really troubled me because, again, as a kid who grew up in the golden age of hip-hop, I would have never expected this from your Jam Master Jay. Now, it is alleged by one of the men who was arrested for the murder of Jam Master Jay that your Jam Master Jay was involved with interstate cocaine trafficking. And the motive for murdering Jam Master Jay was related to a cocaine deal that was going to be multi-state, and your Jay Mizell decided to exclude Ronald Washington, allegedly, from this multi-state drug deal. And because he was cutting him out of the ability to make money on this multi-state drug deal, your Ronald Washington conspired to murder Jam Master Jay and then went out here and allegedly executed Jam Master Jay. Now, alleged in court filings, it was said that he was at his recording studio, 24/7 Studios in Queens, and these two individuals walked in with firearms at 7:30 p.m. and shot Jam Master Jay in the head at close range. And this is what is alleged and reported, and this is quite troubling again because we now know that this wasn't just a random murder, as many people thought had been the case for the last 18 years. We now know that this murder was connected to dope dealing, and again, this was just something that is a shocker because it's something that you would just not expect from Jam Master Jay. Again, a guy who oftentimes in Run DMC rap lyrics would say, hey, don't do drugs, and was a part of a rap group that wasn't about the drug life or the street life. It was about trying to show the most positive aspects of rap and hip-hop, and you wouldn't expect that from him from that aspect, nor would you expect that from someone who promoted and touted himself as a family man. You would not expect him to be involved in the drug trade, trying to go out here and get kilograms of drugs from drug suppliers. I mean, this is something I would have never expected from somebody like Jam Master Jay. Now, there are some in the black community who would want to say, oh, the police are just saying this for the sake of saying this, but I have no reason not to believe them because when I think about his association with Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, a former drug dealer, as one of his proteges, the police's story has that ring of truth because a lot of times when you have drug dealers out here like your Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, a lot of these guys want to get into the rap game, and a lot of guys who come into the rap game come in through the dope trade. So when I think about Jam Master Jay's connections to Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, that really makes this whole story have that ring of truth 18 years later, because the only way Curtis 50 Cent Jackson came to the forefront was through his connection to Jam Master Jay. And now we see that that connection between your Jam Master Jay and Curtis 50 Cent Jackson has direct connections to the drug trade. So when I heard this news and I was reading it, I couldn't say that it wasn't true. I had to look at it and say, this has the ring of truth to it, because, again, based on Curtis Jackson's past, this shows us a direct connection to things, and it also really shows us why this case wasn't solved for 18 years. And the reason why I believe this case really didn't get a break for 18 years is because the guys involved in the drug trade did not want to have this information come out. Now, it probably what happened in this case is another guy swerved another guy, and because another guy swerved another guy, somebody decided to flip somebody. Because usually in the dope game, whenever somebody gets caught, somebody wants to flip somebody, and that's probably what happened here in the investigation. Somebody wound up to go out here and wanted to flip one of these guys, and that's what led to the information coming out. So, and it looks like that was the case, because what happens is, again, they already have cases and guys want to come out, so they flip other guys. But it's just really troubling to hear, again, one of the guys who was considered an icon from my early childhood, to hear that he was involved with this dope game. And it's really troubling to hear that he was involved in criminal activity. I mean, I would never have expected Jam Master Jay to be involved in something like interstate cocaine trafficking. I would have thought he would have made enough money off of his records and the royalties from his records to live well. And I thought he would have made enough money off of studio time and selling studio time to other aspiring rappers he was mentoring in order to do well. But it doesn't seem like that was the case. It seems like he was out here doing some dirty deals in the street, and sadly it was the dirty deals he was doing allegedly in the street that led to him winding up losing his life. And that was really one of the most troubling things for me to hear about your Jam Master Jay, is to just hear that he was involved in this dope game. Because when I think about, again, guys who I would least expect to be in the dope game, Jam Master Jay is one of those I would never expect to be in this. And again, some people would say, oh, this is possibly white people trying to set this guy up. And I say no. When I look at his associates like Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, I can say, yeah, this is possibly true and has that ring of truth, because a lot of rappers, they come in from the dope game and they want to become rappers, and they get hooked up into the rap game. And a lot of guys who are in the rap game get their money from dope boys in order to go out here and cut their records. So I look at this whole case, and again, it's really, really shocking to me. It's really troubling to me to hear this, and it really saddens me, because here's a guy many people thought of as a role model, and you find out that he's involved in the dope game, and he's one of these guys who's not just selling a few things here and there, he's moving interstate weight, something that would usually get people federal time, and it was moving that interstate weight that led to him losing his life. And that was one of the most, again, sad aspects of the story, because this guy was like one of the guys I grew up with. I mean, listening to his music, and to hear that he was involved with this kind of stuff, this changes how I see this guy. I mean, I used to see him, again, as a guy who was one of the role models of hip-hop and that era of hip-hop. And to hear this happen to him, this is just, it's again, really, it really shook me, and it really, really troubled me to hear it. But I understand that that again, a lot of the music business is a dirty business, and it doesn't surprise. And again, it's just not surprising to hear that a guy like Jam Master Jay getting involved with this. I don't understand why he was involved with it. I don't understand why he was a part of this. Again, it looked like he had enough money from the music business, I would think, if he knew how to cut good deals. I mean, Russell Simmons is one of the brothers of Run, and you think they would have cut a good deal, and you think things would have gone all right. You didn't think he would have to go out and do this. I mean, and again, this is a guy who said, don't do drugs, and here he is selling poison to people in his own community, and all of that it just shakes me, and again makes me think twice about many of the rappers I used to listen to as a kid, many of the rappers who I thought were all about positivity. I mean, I wonder what made Jam Master Jay make this bad turn, and what made him think that selling poison to his own people was something that he needed to do, even though he had money and wealth. Why did he do this? And those are questions I would like to get some answers to, and those are questions many people who listen to Run DMC want to get answers to, because it's just troubling to hear a guy who you thought was probably doing fairly well off his music decided to go into this dope game. And to go into this dope game, I mean, I know that there are rappers who have come into the dope game, and were part of the dope game, but I wouldn't think that Jam Master Jay would even think to get involved with this type of business after, again, speaking against it so vehemently back in the 80s. And it's just, again, really troubling to think about it, because it's just not something you would expect from someone like him. Now, if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to try some of my SJS books, you can click the link and find all of those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.